Hello, Fusion. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Fusion News. Today is February 7th, 2018, and we have another big show for you right now. I am on the phone with Tim Brando, Fox Sports broadcaster for college football and college basketball. But before we talk about the college basketball, big news out of the Patriots in New England yesterday. Josh McDaniels is staying with the Patriots. Tim, what was your reaction when you heard the news, and do you agree with this decision by Josh McDaniels?
It doesn't really matter, Alex, who agrees with it. I certainly have an understanding of how a guy could be in a position at a career crossroads and change his mind. I've done it at least a couple of times in my career, and it may be difficult for a lot of your listeners and followers to comprehend when you're young, but things change over time in life. And when I was young and starting out my career, I could have gone anywhere and done anything. But the moment that I said I do to my wife, Terry, and a few short years after that, we had our first child, Tiffany, and then came another child, Tara. You know, things change. And I know he's got 4 kids, not just 2, but 4. And at 41 years of age and living the life of an assistant coach that is and even one time as a head coach moving from place to place, there's a lot of instability within the home life when you're doing that. So not understanding or having a real read on what the inner workings of his home life must be, I will tell you just from experience that it weighs heavily anytime you make a career change, a career choice like this one. Now, there are certainly, for me, when I made some of the changes that I made, I agreed verbally to at least a couple of jobs that I later did an about face on and chose not to go. But when I made those choices, it impacted myself and it impacted my family, not other people's lives and their families. And I know that that's probably the greatest criticism of McDaniels today, is that, you know, he had a staff assembled, or at least a good portion of it, ready to go, and they had to put their lives on a pause button, and that's really unfortunate. Now, my guess is those guys, many of them in the coaching profession, are accustomed to instability and always have their heads on swivels, looking for jobs, and maybe that's a good way for McDaniels to, to have a clean conscience. And if so, good for him. That's the only discrepancy I think that I see in all of this. The embarrassment level for the Indianapolis Colts, I'm sure, is great. Their fan base, I'm sure, is pretty hot about it. Their ownership is probably mad. I saw the comments from the young general manager, who I do respect, and I can feel for him. But to the same token, I do think that whenever you're talking about a major change in your life like this one, that's going to come into play. And ultimately, what happens with your personal life is going to impact your professional life. So if he had gone against the will of his wife and kids, I think ultimately that might have shown up for Indianapolis on the field. So he may have done them a great favor by not taking the job. But understand this also, for Belichick and for both Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft to meet with him and hold him there for 3 or 4 hours, as has been reported by, among others, Peter Schrager, who is a Fox insider with the NFL and also works for the NFL Network. For them to have done that indicates to me that there at least has to be a verbal agreement. There can't be anything signed because of the Rooney Rule and the collective bargaining agreement, but there's got to be some verbal agreement that he is next in line to take over for Belichick in New England. For him to have made this choice at this 11th hour, and again, if these reports, and I don't have any reason not to believe in Peter Schrager. I think he's one of the best sources in the NFL. If those are all accurate, then to me, that's a great owner of a storied franchise that just told you, you're going to be better off if you stay here with us long term than if you were to go and take another job as you did once before and it didn't work out. So that to me me, all of that figures in the equation as to why this happened. Do I think it was the right move? That's not for me to say. Do I think it could be detrimental to him down the road if his career goes not as well in the next few years? Yeah, it could be. But that's a risk you take based on the decision that you want to make that's in the best interest of you and your family. If it's about lifestyle and not money, then, he probably did the right thing. But if it is about money and it is about his future career aspirations, then he's definitely taking a big risk. And because I can't imagine any other NFL team ever interviewing him again for an opportunity to become a head coach. Not after this.
Yeah. Tim, that news is coming out 2 days after the Super Bowl loss to the Patriots. What was your whole opinion about the Super Bowl matchup between the Patriots and the Eagles, and were you happy with the outcome?
Yeah, I was. In full disclosure, Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, is a friend of mine. He went to my college, Northeast Louisiana University. That's what it was known as when he was there and when I was there. I'm about 12, 13 years ahead of him. I was there in the 70s. He was there and got out in the early 90s. But Doug's a really good guy. He was actually coaching high school in my hometown at Calvary Baptist, a powerhouse private school, but a powerhouse program in the state of Louisiana. And to think that he was doing that just 10 years ago and then would be coaching in the Super Bowl. He actually told a friend of mine that I went to school with was the pastor at Calvary Baptist. When he became the head coach, he was both pastor and the principal of the school. And he told me that there was only one job that he would leave the school for. And he said if Andy Reid called, that he would have to go. And ultimately, that's what happened. Andy Reid got to Kansas City. He called, and that's when Doug, who has clearly been a protege of Andy's for a long time, having been a backup quarterback in Green Bay when Andy was working for Mike Holmgren, backing up Brett Favre back in those days. They had a great relationship, and he thought the world of Andy Reid and was going to go back to the NFL when that happened. And it was a good thing. I mean, that was a strong career move on his part because it led to this chance for him to be the head coach. So I don't have a dog in the hunt, really don't care who wins, but because I know and like Doug and because of our geography being similar, schools being the same, I was really, really happy for him. Philadelphia, I thought all along had a great chance to win this game because New England's defense was not tremendous at all. They had holes, and obviously the decision that Belichick made to leave his best corner out of the game, which Malcolm Butler not to play, to me was another big advantage in the game, and Philadelphia exploited that. I didn't think New England would run roughshod over Philadelphia's defense like that because I really felt Philadelphia's defense was the best in football this year. But give Brady and Gronk a lot of credit, particularly the early portion of that second half. It just appeared that they were not going to be stopped. So the Eagles had to counter and do some things. I mean, they had to take some risks, go for it on fourth down. They did it in the first half. They did it in the second half. The play call at the end of the first half on the pass back to Nick Foles was just a thing of beauty. And you have to do things like that when you're an underdog in the Super Bowl. Sean Payton did the same thing when he was going up against that high-powered Indianapolis offense. He wanted to steal an extra possession. And he did so at the beginning of the first half with an onside kick, which surprised everyone and kind of tilted the entire second half in New Orleans' favor back in 2009. This was similar to that, although it happened at the very end of the half as opposed to at the very beginning of the second.
Yeah, definitely. Tim, before we wrap up this interview, you are, of course, will be announcing some college basketball in this upcoming weekend. Can you tell the Fuse Nation what games you will be broadcasting on Fox Sports, and what are your expectations of these teams?
Well, first off, at the moment of this taping, I'm doing for Raycom Sports, the ACC network. I do Duke, North Carolina tomorrow night, and that's always fun. I've done it for the last 15 years. The first game played between the Battle of the Blues, one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports, certainly the best rivalry in college basketball. Both teams come in smarting a little bit, with Duke having lost to winless St. John's in the Big East, and North Carolina got it handed to them the other night as well. Now, they've rebounded since with a game against a bad Pitt team that they won, but North Carolina losing to Clemson the way they did, I know that burned them up quite a bit. Both these teams this year are looking at themselves square in the mirror and saying we're battling for second at best, because Virginia's the best team in the conference and one of the best three teams, I think, in the country. But the rivalry is tremendous, and it's a game assignment that every year I look forward to. Alex, if you've never been to it live, you just don't know. It's the regular season answer to a Final Four atmosphere. That's the best way of describing it. And it doesn't matter whether the game is at Cameron Indoor Stadium or at the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill. This year it's at the Dean Dome. Saturday, when I get through with that game on Thursday night, I'll be flying out Friday morning to Omaha for a really good matchup. Number 5 Creighton, they're 22-3, just beat Butler last night in a great game in overtime at Hinkle Fieldhouse. And they're the 5th ranked team in the country. And I think one of the best teams that most people aren't talking about that could make a run to the Final Four. They're a veteran team, returning a lot of talent that went to the Elite Eight last year. But they're going to be playing a Creighton team that they beat a few weeks back. In fact, I had the game at Cincinnati at the Cintas Center on the campus of Xavier. Creighton is a great team at home. It's a tremendous atmosphere at their arena. They're right there next to Ameritrade, where the College World Series is played in Omaha. They've got the facility that's magnificent right in downtown. And it feels like an on-campus facility. It really does. And the way they move the ball offensively, and with Marcus Foster in the backcourt and the other great talent that they've got, I think they have a chance to upset Xavier. So that's going to be a great game. And next week we'll get over into the Big Ten again. I spent the last couple of weeks watching Purdue and Michigan and Indiana. I'll tell you, the Boilermakers, I think right now, are the most complete team in college basketball. That Isaac Haas is a throwback big man. I don't think anyone can stop him in college basketball. And we don't see too many back-to-the-basket, low-post players. And at 7'3" and 265, 270, he is a load. And I think should be warranting a lot of National Player of the Year opportunities, because not many people are talking about him. They talk about Trae Young. They talk about a lot of other dynamic players in the college game. But this kid's unstoppable once he gets the ball down the low block. That's a little bit of what I've got in front of me, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I appreciate you asking me about it.
Perfect. And Tim, last question before we wrap up this interview. I was talking to you before the interview about a player that I think you will be hearing about very soon in college basketball. Is Joe Girard III. He is a junior in Glens Falls, New York. And like I was telling you, he has an offer to play for Syracuse, Michigan, Oklahoma, and about 18 other different colleges. What would be your advice to Joe Girard and trying to get into this career of college basketball?
Well, just don't do this, okay? When you have your announcement for signing day, don't do as they did today in football and line up about 4 to 5 different hats. And in one case, have your mom wearing an Alabama hat, and you pick the Florida hat. Don't do that. Don't make it a day with the Kardashians. Just make a solid decision to go to the best place that makes you happy. I understand it's your day in the sun, and you should be able to enjoy it. Having not seen the kid play, but only heard the numbers that you're talking about, they're astronomical. I'm sure his choices are limitless. To me, if he's in upstate New York and he spurns Boeheim, that'll be a bit of a shock. But the way things are going right now, it looks like Duke, every time there's a future lottery pick and it's the top 1, 2, or 3 players, they're going to Duke. But we'll see. I'll tell you that that part of New York, I notice a lot of times the kids do want to get away from there. And Syracuse historically has gotten a lot of players from other places to come into play at Carrier Dome. But that'll be a fun little battle between old friend Krzyzewski and Boeheim to get that young man services in a couple of years.
Definitely. And Tim, you're talking about people wanting to get out of upstate New York. We just got a foot of snow today. So I think a lot of people are trying to get out of upstate New York, not just basketball players.
Right, I bet.
Well, Tim, thank you again for coming on my show today. And where can the Fuse Nation follow along with you on Twitter and listen, of course, on Fox Sports and where you are announcing the North Carolina and Duke game tomorrow night?
Thank you, my man. Always a pleasure being with you. And Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. All right, Fuse Nation, you just heard from the great Tim Brando from Fox Sports. We talked a lot about Josh McDaniels staying with the Patriots. We talked Joe Girard III, what is his future, and more. And I will be going live with Captain Khan from Barstool Sports later tonight, so be sure to stay tuned for that. All right, Fuse Nation, thanks again for watching, and I will be seeing you very soon. Thanks for watching.